Yo, what is up guys? Airlink here, bringing you a video of Deck My Steel, totally not a ripoff of some other show. So currently, you're here because you want to play Black Rose Dragon. It's a pretty cool deck, although not really top tier. But, you gotta live it up to Akiza and Synchro era Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. So, let's go into the deck profile. So, since we're playing Black Rose, and not a deck with Black Rose, we're playing one Black Rose Dragon, one Black Rose Moonlight Dragon, and one Ruddy Rose Dragon. For the main engine of this deck, we have one Spore, one Omni Dragon Brotaur, two Lonefire Blossom, three Red Rose Dragon, since I prefer the Red Rose Dragon over the Ruddy Rose Witch engine, basically. One Rose Princess to help you search for the White Cloister for an extra summon. Rose Girl, which is basically a tuner that can just bring itself back if you have a plant on the field. Two Roxrose Dragon. One World Carrotweight Champion. Three White Rose Dragon. One Romarin. One Destrudo. Two Tenyi Spirit Vishuda. One Mardel. One Niberu, this can be increased, since I don't have much UR dust left, but this is for the spammy boards. One Monster Reborn for the extenders. Two Send to the Grave cards, basically, to get your dragons to the graveyard when you need them. One for one, this is usually to get Spore or Brotaur out. Lightning Vortex and Twister, these two can be exchanged because there are some really pesky back row decks that are not synchroing, cost like, you know, skill drain decks, Moon Mirror Shield, totem decks, more or less, that you'll see occasionally. You'll have two Black Garden, this is basically to have your opponent's monsters. Three of the main cards, Basil Rose Shoot, this is very primal, very important in this deck, and luckily it's at Super R rarity, so it's cheaper than Tuning, which is at UR. Frozen Rose, this is basically pretty good, searchable by Roxrose Dragon, as well as Blooming of the Darkest Rose. This is for when you summon your Black Rose onto the field and you want to, like, you know, get advantage out of it. If this is on the field or if this is in the graveyard, you can basically phase it out more or less. And one Blessed Winds that is searchable by Mardel right here in the extra deck, which is basically you can gain life points from one of this effect and target one card your opponent controls and destroy it. So, for the rest of the cards of our extra deck, we are running one Herald of the Arclight. This is a low level synchro that we need to, like, get off and start stacking on if necessary. One Garden Rose Maiden to search our Black Garden. One Garden Rose Flora to either pop a field spell or get, like, you know, a level 7 onto the field. Black Rose Dragon. Shooting Riser Dragon, this is when you're trying to scramble and try to figure out how to get to a level X number, and you're trying to rack your head over it by sending an appropriate level card. Very cheap, but very good. Perialis, Empress of the Blossoms. This is a very good card for this deck, since if you open up with, like, you know, a Roxrose with a White Rose Dragon, you can basically use White Rose's effect to send, like, you know, what was it called? Mardel to the graveyard, get Perialis onto the field, use Perialis' effect to get the Mardel onto the field, so you can get another plant monster to your hand and, like, start comboing off there. This right here is just a random generic 8 that you can get to if you're being unlucky. Usually most of the tuners are dark because of the dragons, but sometimes you might want to replace this with something else more generic. So we have Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. This is a very good card, even though it requires a synchro monster. We have a Shen. We have Satellite Warrior. This is not necessary, but very good when the duel drags on for too long and your graveyard's full of synchro monsters. And then we have the final typical first level 10 you get, Baronne de Fleur. This is a very good card to have. Well, that does it for our deck profile. Let's get into a duel that we look at. So the replay I wanted to show you is one against Virtual World, where we, as Black Rose Dragon, goes first. So, as you can see here, we've opened up with pretty good combo starters. We have a Foolish Burial and we have a White Rose Dragon. We're going to activate the Foolish Burial, throwing a Red Rose Dragon, then normal summoning White Rose Dragon to special summon the Red Rose from the graveyard, and immediately sync to our level 7 Paralysis. So once we get the Paralysis, we can activate Chain 1, Chain 2, Red Rose Dragon, then White Rose Dragon sending in Mardel to the graveyard. Once we get the Mardel to the graveyard, we can special summon our Roxrose Dragon to our field. Bring a Frozen Rose. When it's special summoned, we can add another Basil Rose Shoot to our hand. We're going to activate Paralysis to bring back the Mardel to the field. Once we have the Mardel field, we can add a plant monster to our hand, which we're going to get Rose Princess. Rose Princess was going to pitch and get a White Rose Cloister onto the field, and we're going to activate White Rose Cloister. Now we're going to sync to a level 10 Omni Digate, which is our Baronne de Fleur. This is a pretty good turn 1, although it could be better. So now we're just going to set the Twin Twister and Frozen Rose and hope for the best right here. So our opponent starts off with the E-Telly. We're not going to negate this because we kind of want them to commit their normal summon, so we know that they can't go really any farther right here. So as you can see here, they're doing virtual shenanigans and getting a lot onto their field and into their graveyard. They activate their Regeki, which wipes my board, so I have to negate this with Baronne de Fleur to keep my monsters on the field. So now that they do, they start synchro summoning, since there's not really anything to stop them at this point, and they go into a Dragon Mech. This Dragon Mech will target my Baronne de Fleur, but I will Frozen Rose it first so that I can destroy it first, just so I can add a plant monster to my hand, which we do. We'll add a Lonefire Blossom, just so we can search for any plant, basically, by triggering itself. And then the last card in his hand is a Monster Reborn. And now, I have to play against my own freaking monster in an Omni Negate, Baronne de Fleur. Luckily, we have, Basil Rose Shoot in our hand, and a Lonefire Blossom, and Spore, as well as White Rose Cluster. So we have many ways to get what we need on the field. What we need right now on the field is Nuke. So what we're going to go for is a Black Rose Dragon. So as you can see here, we're going to activate White Rose Cluster so we can summon, well, draw a card to see if we get 1,000 of our Synchro monsters. We're going to activate its special summon Spore. Then we're just normal summon Lonefire Blossom, tribute itself, which they're going to negate with the bear. This is good because we still have another line through Basil Rose Shoot. So we're going to activate Basil Rose Shoot. We have played through all the Omni Negates. We're going to bring back White Rose Dragon. So now White Rose Dragon and that card, we're going to summon Garden Rose Flora. We're going to trigger it, send Romarin. We're going to actually send, which is really cool, we're actually going to send, Garden Rose Maiden to the graveyard. And what's interesting is, you don't need to summon it properly to activate its second effect, which you can banish this card from your graveyard and target one Rose Dragon monster or one Dragon Synchro monster in your graveyard and special summon it. This is going to save the duel later on. So we're going to simply use the other Maiden's effect, Rose Garden Flora's effect to pop our field spell, summon a token, and then we're going to synchro into a Black Rose Dragon. Right here, we're allowed to nuke the field, and as you can see here, we also set Basil Rose Shoot, because the second effect of Basil Rose Shoot, when this card is destroyed on battle, we can basically summon a Black Rose Dragon out from our graveyard, which we do here, and thanks to White Cluster's the field spell, we gain 1,000 attack for our Synchro monsters. Right here, we're going to banish it to special summon a White Rose Dragon, and we're going to banish Romarin in our graveyard to get a level 5 out from Spore, and we're going to go into a Shen, because I didn't really feel safe with this board right here. So they have one card in their hand and a lot of things in their graveyard in their virtual worlds. So they're going to go for Virtual World Hime to special summon the Kirin. And they're going to special summon their own Virtual World Shen, of which they get another card to their hand. And now they battle and basically send our Black Rose Dragon to the banish pile. So now what do we do here? Since we got Black Rose destroyed, we get to get a Roxrose Dragon back to our hand. And now we're going to draw, and we got into a Blooming with Black Rose. We're just going to normal summon so we can just get a Basil Rose Shoot. Once we get a Basil Rose Shoot, we're going to attack, and we're going to bring back our Black Rose Dragon, which is very key in this next step. We're going to activate the Basil Rose Shoot, bringing back the Black Rose Dragon, and we're going to finally sync to a 10, which is going to be our Ruddy Rose Dragon. Since we filled the summoning condition of using a Black Rose Dragon as synchro material, we can banish all the cards from our graveyard. Therefore, we do not have the virtual world finally banishing the cards. So they're just going to set 1 and pass, while the animation to banish the many cards in our graveyard. We're just going to normal summon Red Rose Dragon to special summon Caligo Claw Crow, and we're just going to barely get into lethal right here. And that was a pretty good game against a pretty top tier deck. Alright, so final thoughts on this deck. There's been a lot of decks that show off Black Rose Dragon, but doesn't show off Black Rose Dragon Synchro only, since most of the combos require like instant fusion, cross sheep? They require like so many fusions, they require links, they require Crystron Halki Fibrax, but I'm hoping this gives you something to look at for the Synchro event if you're interested in spending your extra hard work gems into building something that maybe Akiza can be proud of in the Synchro area. Although the main engine of this deck is cheap, such as the dragons, their normals and Rs, I would highly suggest you really need Mardel, so you might need to spend like UR dust for her. You really need the 3 Basil Rouge shoots. And majority of the other cards, like the 1-for-1 more or less, can be optional at sometimes, but like are very good when you draw them. And you really should get Burrow into Floor. It's going to be pretty meta, more or less. But other than that, this is the deck for Black Rose Dragon. I hope you guys enjoy, and I hope to see more of these decks out there. Later.